Emily. You may know me from Emily's Green Diary over on Instagram. If you don't, I am a sustainable and organic gardener from Derbyshire in the UK. Today I'm going to be talking to you all about autumn sowing, just a really brief introduction to autumn sowing in case you've never heard of it and that you're a beginner, because I really think that everyone should know about autumn sowing. It's not something that you see in a lot of gardening books. A lot of people just focus on the traditional garden season, which is like spring and summer, but for me the most exciting part in gardening is autumn sowing. For me, I see September as the start of the gardening season because that's when I do all of my seed sowing for flowers. So to start autumn sowing, all you need is a propagator lid, seed tray with cells like this, or you can use pots, and then a gravel tray as well, or a water tray. People call it different things. Basically a tray. I've collected these over the past few years, but I know my first year when I started doing this, I just used to use little yogurt pots, and then the little like fruit punnets for the water base, and then you can also use them as propagator lids as well. So you don't need fancy equipment. And then obviously seeds of your choice. So in autumn we sow hardy annuals, so things like cornflowers, calendulas, poppies, snapdragons, I'm trying to think of what else, Nigella, stuff like that. But I'll be running through all of that in a later video. This is more just an introduction to autumn sowing and what you need to start, because we do start autumn sowing in September. So you might be thinking, why should I autumn sow? Why can't I just sow my flower seeds in the spring like I did this year? So autumn sowing is really great for giving your plants and seeds a longer time to establish and create stronger growth. So in autumn, September and October maybe, before the clocks go back or forward, before the days start getting shorter again, we have like 10 hours of sunlight, which is really great to get those seeds germinated and into established plants. So you want your flower plants to be little plants rather than seedlings going in to the colder months. And then when it comes to March and April, depending on where you live, you can just plant them straight out into your garden after hardening them off for a few weeks, and then they get a longer season to grow, which means more flowers, better growth, and just overall stronger plants. So that is why we autumn sow, to give your plants a longer growing season so you can enjoy flowers for longer. First thing that you should start with if you are new to autumn sowing is calendulas, cornflowers and sweet peas. They're the three beginner flowers that are really easy to sow, grow and maintain next year as well. All you need is a greenhouse, a porch, a cold frame, one of those little zippy greenhouses. You don't need to have a big outdoor greenhouse because all of these seeds are hardy. It depends which seed it is, but a lot of them go down to about -5. So as long as you're not in the very northern part of Scotland, you should be okay, as long as you've got, like I say, a propagator lid, and if it gets really chilly, because who knows with the British weather, some horticultural fleece, but we'll come into that later on. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a really good idea to start ordering your seeds and getting your equipment like this ready for September and October. I'm now going to run over some popular hardy annuals that you can sow this autumn. I have got quite a few of mine this year from a place called Chiltern Seeds, just because they do some really funky varieties, and I've got delphiniums as well, which is a new one for me. So I've got lots of different sweet peas, I've got calendulas, cornflowers, I have got Love in a Mess, also called Nigella, I've got Snapdragons, and I've got delphiniums as well. which is a new one for me this year. I've never autumn sown delphiniums, and apparently they're a little bit tricky. But I'm going to give it a good go. It's a bit like Ammi Majus, which is a really pretty like floral white flower. And so a little picture here. I've never grown those before, but I'm going to give them a good go. They're a little bit tricky because you have to put them in the fridge for like a few weeks beforehand to get them to like ideal germination temperature, and no one knows what weather is going to be like either in England. So you do have to just look at your local weather forecast, have a look for the next 2 weeks, what yours is going to be like going into September. If it's still really warm, like top 20s, you might have to wait a little bit, but if it's around 20 degrees, then that is perfect for autumn sowing. So keep an eye out on my channel over the next few weeks, and I'll be sowing and growing all of these flowers along with you. So if you're not sure, I'll be doing a video on each of them so that you know what conditions you need, what equipment you will need, and how it's best to grow them. So I'll be putting little reminders up on my Instagram stories, so follow me over on there if you want a reminder, because you might not want to grow all of these, or you might just fancy growing one of them to see how you go this year. But I hope this video has persuaded you to start autumn sowing. If you've got any questions or comments, please leave them down below or send me a message on Instagram, and I'll be sure to answer you over on there.